and welcome to Ramadan 2020 virtual. We are having virtual iftar this evening, hosted by the Dialog Institute of Kansas City, and we have a couple of host organizations that I will introduce you to shortly. But I just wanted to welcome you, and you're in for a real treat tonight. You can see on the screen we have several guests that will welcome you. We have a family in San Antonio that we will join in their home. We'll hear from the Interfaith Council, hear a little bit about unity. We have a couple of guest speakers, and it's just going to be a wonderful evening. We've done, I don't know, how many of these have we done, Ayub? Like 6, 7, 8, I don't know. But each one is a little bit different. And right now, I would invite you to, if you haven't already, to have your evening food or what the food you'll use to break the fast after the call to the prayer, which is a little bit later. But if you want to have that at your desk or at your table, so that when we do, after the prayer, break the fast and have something to eat, you have it there with you. You are watching us. You can watch us live on YouTube and use the chat stream for any questions that you have. Please put them in there, and I will be able to see those and ask them into the space here for whomever you have the question. So I think that's about all I have to say right now, and I'm going to turn this over to you, Ayub.
It's my turn again.
Yes, we're all gonna disappear and let you have the stage and spotlight.
I'm sending you away. Hello, everyone. This is Ayub SN from Dialog Institute of Kansas City. Greetings from the heartland of the United States to the people of this nation of global warming of hearts. We have many friends joining us from different parts of the United States, and our host family is from San Antonio. Our speaker is from Cleveland, Ohio. My name, Ayub, translates as Job, and nicknames are Baby Shack, Turkey Shack, and White Shack. Today, actually, I'm gonna share a story with you about my first year experience in the United States that might come as a surprise a little bit. Let's see. First of all, I feel so peaceful as we have friends from Unity and Greater Kansas City Interfaith Council, not to mention people from diverse faith backgrounds joining us from different parts of the world and US. So, my first year experience, I was born and grew up in Istanbul, Turkey as a Muslim, and first time I went to an Islamic center in Cincinnati, Ohio. So, I stepped into this mosque, and my first reaction or impression was, oh my gosh, these guys look like terrorists. So I was shocked at myself. I was shocked at to hear my own impression, my own reaction. So what does that really mean to me back then? So if you have a beard and if you have dark skin, you are a potential terrorist. So I had this impression, although I share the same religion with these people. So that was kind of a wake up call for me to educate myself on my own religion and also about anyone who belonged to a different faith. And one more thing is that I shouldn't judge anyone if they have misunderstandings about Islam, because I had this scary moment as a Muslim for other Muslims. So it was really an aha moment for me. But over the years, I started being more interested in interfaith dialogue. So, what does that mean? Learning about other faiths as well as my own faith. So, that kind of helped me and to be more, I think, open minded. But especially one verse from the Holy Book of Quran encouraged me to kind of realize this interfaith dialogue is a must in our world. And I'm gonna share my screen with you just for that verse, and please join me to read with me. So let's read it together. O humankind, surely we have created you from a single pair of male and female, and made you into tribes and families so that you may know one another. Surely the noblest, most honorable of you in God's sight is the one best in piety, righteousness, and reverence for God. This is my talk for the beginning. The mic is yours, Kelly. Kelly? Uh, Kelly, are you there? I don't know if we are having an issue. Kelly, are you there? I think we are having a technical issue, but our MC is joining us now. Okay. Hello, Kelly. We hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. That's what you get with when you're doing things live. You never know what's going to happen.
No problem. It was a great feeling to wait for you. I'm sure our audience like that.
You have something to say about everything that's just
I
perfect.
have a big mouth.
Yeah, it's just perfect. You know what? I don't think I had ever heard that story about your everything that you just said. I don't know that we often think about having, some biases or prejudices amongst people that, people that we of our own faith tradition or our own culture or but I was thinking about it as you were saying it that I think it's true in most every faith tradition.
Yeah, it was an honest reflection, exactly.
Yes, well, I think it's refreshing. An honest reflection is very refreshing because I certainly know it happens in Christianity, and I feel confident in other faith traditions where Christians have judgments about other Christians because there's this spectrum of beliefs in Christianity. It's not a monolithic faith, right? It's not. Certainly in Christianity, there's different traditions within one big umbrella, but lots of different expressions, and not everyone believes the same thing. So anyway, thank you. I am going to share with our group here online a little bit about the Dialog Institute, except that there's no screen sharing allowed for me. You have to make me a co-host, please, Ayub. And then I can start talking about the Dialog Institute. It's the Dialog Institute. I was introduced. There's Dialog Institute of Southwest is kind of the home base, and then there's these satellite offices. And the Dialog Institute Kansas City is the one that I'm connected with, and the one that Ayub is the executive director for. He's has this way of just bringing people in together. He definitely was made for these times. As he said, his name is translated as Job, and he the baby Shack, Turkish Shack, White Shack. In case you didn't know, he loves Shaquille O'Neal. If he didn't mention that enough, now you know. So if anyone out there ever gets their hands on something autographed by Shaquille O'Neal, I feel confident Ayub would be happy to take that off your hands. I'm Reverend Kelly Isola. I'm the chair for the Greater Kansas City Interfaith Council. I'm also a Unity minister, so it's a little ironic that the two organizations that are hosting tonight is Unity or Unity Village and the Interfaith Council. But I'm actually, there's someone else from the council that's going to talk about the council. But I was introduced to the Dialog Institute several years ago and met Ayub through an interfaith event, and absolutely knew that this was someone that I would be working with and contributing to the world with, and just demonstrating and expressing through our own work together and separately and with lots of other people the values and the underlying foundation from the Gulen movement. The Gulen movement is named after Fethullah Gulen, he lives in Pennsylvania, but he's in exile from Turkey. But many people have never heard of him. Which is really kind of ironic because he is known worldwide, really, and he's a phenomenal isn't the right word. He's an extraordinary thought leader, and he's an influential leader. He's an influential speaker. He is a mover and a shaker, but in a in his way, in his time, from his place. He's a Turkish Muslim, and so the Dialogue Institute was born out of the Gulen movement to further the values and the work of Fethullah Gulen, which is peacemaking and justice and compassion, and just sort of pushing the boundaries a little bit for interfaith and intercultural dialogue and conversations around science and spirituality, lots of education, and he's also a poet. He's just a brilliant man, and with a very deep soul for compassion. You can see some of the awards that he's won on the right-hand side of the screen, from Foreign Policy magazine, from Time, and you can see more about him at the website there. So fast-breaking dinners, this iftar, the Ramadan iftar, is one of the programs that the Dialogue Institute has offered to the Kansas City area, I believe probably since its inception. And it's bringing groups of people together for the evening fast-breaking meal. And you can see what we've done in the past has been live. We bring, the Dialogue Institute and the Turkish Muslim families that cook all the food and bring it to the organization's home office and have the meal and have a call to prayer and dialogue together and sit together and make new friends. And so here you can see a picture of a police department. On the left-hand side is a family. And here's a group at a university. There's civic organizations and hospitals and other educational places, retail establishments, lots and lots of different churches and synagogues and other faith-based organizations. Just if there's an organization in the Kansas City area, a company that hasn't had the opportunity to have an iftar meal during Ramadan, I'm sure it's just because Ayub doesn't know they exist. Every year, the Dialogue Institute hosts the annual Dialogue and Friendship Dinner, and it's their signature event, and bringing hundreds of people together for unity, for justice, for just people that are interested in making a difference in the world. And it's what I really love about it is that it's not about people all thinking alike, but it's about different cultures and different faith traditions, different beliefs, different worldviews, honoring and discovering the power and the presence in diversity and having some differences, as well as acknowledging and honoring and celebrating the foundational pieces where we are alike and we do think alike and we do strive for the same values to creating this world that works for us. The Dialogue Institute at the annual Friendship Dinner honors an individual or an organization that is doing work in the greater Kansas City area that is in alignment with the values and the mission of the Dialogue Institute and making a difference in the community. They offer water marbling classes, which are really a lot of fun. You can't do it wrong. You put some in the water, you put some paint and then some other liquid in there, and you can make these weird, wonderfully beautiful, patterns. Just, everybody's creative. And again, it's a way to bring people that may not know each other together to do something fun. And to create something quite beautiful that you can frame and hang on your wall and to remind you of why we are here together. They offer dialogue and brunches, so they're Saturday morning brunches of bringing people together. Those are very much more educational. It's a way to really learn about different faith traditions, about worldviews and life philosophies that you may not even know about. And as Ayub said at the beginning, you can even discover some prejudices that you may have had or some biases within your own faith tradition and learn some of the differences that exist within your own world, within your own culture. Sometimes we don't even know what's there. So dialogue is always a very powerful tool for breaking down walls. Host family dinners is how I actually first met Ayub. I went to a family's home for dinner, and I didn't know anybody there, but by the end of the night, I had new numbers in my phone and new emails and lots of pictures, and have been to many, many, many dinners since. They offer coffee and baklava. They'll bring it to your place of work. They'll bring it to your home, to your family, to a group of friends. You'll notice that most of the things that the Dialogue Institute offers circle around food. And I say it a little bit in jest, but in case you hadn't noticed, food is a very powerful instrument for bringing people together. Everyone, it's one of the things we strive for in the world is for everyone to have something to eat. And sometimes when all else fails, if we can sit together in silence and break bread, then we're making progress. So coffee and baklava, and if you haven't had Turkish baklava, you're missing out. They offer Turkish language classes from time to time, cooking classes, of course. Learn how to cook some of their people's favorite Turkish dishes to bring home to your own family. And of course, building more bridges, being with people that you may not know. And finally, Thanksgiving dinners, bringing together people that don't know each other around food, bringing, traditions that might be American, they might be Turkish, they might be Italian, they might be Hispanic, but bringing those traditions together for a Thanksgiving dinner to give thanks and to acknowledge how we are doing work together. So I want to now introduce one of our guests this evening. As I said at the beginning, we have two organizations that are hosting tonight. We have the Greater Kansas City Interfaith Council, and we have the Unity is also hosting tonight. But I first want to turn the mic over to Bennett. We're waiting for her camera to come on. Or maybe I'll go first and talk about Unity for a minute while Bennett's camera comes on. So Unity is it's Unity and Unity Village. Unity Village is located just outside Kansas City, Missouri. It's just kind of south, about 20 minutes south. And Unity Village was founded. Actually, Unity was founded in 1889, and Unity is a religion that's some people call it a religion, some people don't. It's, I think, a better way to talk about it would say a life philosophy, a worldview, spiritual practices for an abundant and meaningful life. And founded in 1889 on the power of prayer, the power of healing prayer, really, and that we have the capacity to heal our world, to heal ourselves and our world, starting with what we think and how we feel, because what's inside of us, we will share with the rest of the world, and sometimes what we share from the inside out doesn't create a world that we want. So Unity was founded in 1889 on prayer, the healing power of prayer here in Kansas City, Missouri, and has just grown over the years since then. It's under the umbrella of what's called a New Thought. It's part of the New Thought movement and has ancestors all the way back to the philosopher Philo, who is about 50 years before the birth of Jesus. But many people associate New Thought with the Transcendental period, with the mid-19th century, Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, with that idea of meditation and prayer, being in communion with nature, and recognizing the interconnectedness of all life. In Unity, we believe that there's one presence and one power active in the universe, that we, each of us, are a creation of that divinity. And so all life is sacred, that we create our world through our thoughts and through our feelings, and through the power of prayer, through the practice really of prayer and meditation, we connect with that principle that some people call God, they call spirit, divine mind. There's different names for it. And then our fifth principle is that we need to put feet on what we believe. We need to be in action in the world. We need to bring forward, if we want a world of peace, if we want a world of understanding, of justice, whatever the world is we're wanting to create, we have to put feet on what we believe, because it's really easy to be spiritual in a cave, but we need to demonstrate what we want to see in the world. Unity Village is I say Unity and Unity Village because in the past several years, we've had the fast breaking meal at Unity Village, and it's always a wonderful event. There's about 100 people. Last year, I think there was about 125 people that came to the meal, and it's just wonderful to come together in a beautiful setting. Unity Village is about 1,500 acres, again, south of Kansas City, Missouri, and there is publishing that goes on there. Many people are familiar with Daily Word. There's a 24-hour, 7 days a week all year round, Silent Unity, which is a prayer ministry, a telephone prayer ministry, which is how Unity was founded, and beautiful grounds and retreats. And what's interesting that right now during the pandemic, the grounds, I don't think they've ever been busier. All the buildings are closed, people are working from home, but there's a labyrinth there, there's a nature walk in the woods, and so there's always lots and lots of people at the village, which I absolutely love. It's just fascinating that before, pre-COVID-19, they weren't quite, weren't as busy on the grounds. But once the pandemic started, people just come to the village to get out, and nobody's near each other because there's so many acres, but to be out to take care of self and to really, to get out so we don't have to be so hunkered down. Anyway, you can go to unity.org and discover more about Unity. And I'm going to be quiet now, and I'm going to turn the mic over to Bennett Seaman, who is a member of the Greater Kansas City Interfaith Council. So I'm going to let her talk about the council. She's also, actually a director on the council, and her faith tradition is Church of Scientology. So welcome, Bennett.
Hello, thank you. It's really a pleasure to be able to be here tonight and talk to all of you. And I just really wanted to spend the evening, the few minutes that I have, talking to you about participating in interfaith events and doing work in the interfaith field. I am very new at this. It's only been a little bit over a year, but I thought since I have kind of a newer perspective, maybe that will help some of you who haven't done a lot of interfaith. I want to say that I have found it to be extremely rewarding and enjoyable. I have participated in and also just enjoyed going to and watching interfaith panels. They're very informative. You learn something about each of the other religions from a very focused point of view. And you also find similarities between the religions, which I have learned so much about the religions and how we all have very common threads that run through all religions. And especially during the time that we're in now, that's evident because you see churches everywhere coming out to do one thing: help. They all want to help. Everybody wants to make the world a better place for everyone around them. And so you have groups everywhere doing something. They may not all be doing the same thing, but they're all doing something for the same goal. And that's what I love about Interfaith, is that it gives us all a way to express ourselves and to work together to bring better things in the world. Some of the unique events that we have had or experienced through the Interfaith Council, one of them was part of, I believe it was a Unity convention actually, and there was one big evening that we went to. I actually had to bring my granddaughter with me, and she was only 6, and she did not like the whole idea of going to this big room with a bunch of people that she didn't know. And at first she just hit her head in my side. But the one thing that I found interesting is that as the evening went on and different religions showed different ways that they expressed their faith, she became more and more involved and more inquisitive, wanting to know what was happening. And it was very nice to see it from the eyes of a young person, because I, of course, enjoy it because I'm very interested in other religions. But it was nice to see, a very innocent, looking at it and wanting to know more. So I really enjoyed that. I again ended up taking her to another experience. We had a interfaith art experience. And again, she started off the night the same way, refusing to participate in anything. However, it didn't take long before we had to pull her away. Basically, she was going to paint the entire picture. She was so into it and enjoyed. And I think everyone should experience those kind of interfaith events. It gives you a time to share what you think and what you feel, and to also see that in others. Most recently, because of the COVID-19, I mentioned that everybody wants to help. And so I have been reaching out from my desire to build more interfaith relationships in our community, and through my position at the church, to reach out to other churches and find out how we can work together. And so that's also been different and it's very rewarding to get to actually do something with another religion. So it's one thing to go to events and everything, but to get to work together side by side is also, it's its own field. And I encourage other churches to find churches around them, other religions, other faiths, and come together and figure out ways that you can work side by side one another. Because when you're really doing something together for the same purpose and you're working hard at it together, you really get to know each other. It's not like just listening to each other. You become true friends and you gain so much more understanding about one another. And so most recently, we have been volunteering at food drives held by other churches who needed manpower. And so we've been answering that call and providing the support so that they can have much larger food events and get out more food to the people that are in need in Kansas City. And it's been awesome. I have a few photos if you would like to see all of the people coming to the events and the different people working together. It also, besides being multi-faith, it's also multi-ethnic. So Kansas City has this kind of history with some racial issues in the very, very long past, but it is nice that we're bridging those gaps as well. And so we have been working with churches that are both predominantly Black in the community and have predominantly Black membership, but we come in and we are a mixed church. And so it's nice to be able to develop those friendships also and to learn to trust one another all over again. So
Yes.
it's
break down the walls, break down the barriers.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you.
And
thank you very much.
Enjoyed it. You're welcome.
Thank you. We have we have one more special guest speaker before we have the keynote speaker, and that is Daniel. His name is Daniel Holland. He's Methodist, and I think he said in 10 days he's graduating from Cornell College in Iowa, and then he's moving on to graduate school at Virginia Tech University. He'll be for technical theater, which means I learned technical theater means taking care of everything behind the scenes, absolutely anything that's off camera, I guess. And a couple of years ago, he fasted during the month of Ramadan. And so he's here tonight for a few minutes to tell us about his experience to participate in Ramadan as a non-Muslim. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just want to start off by saying thank you for having me. It's a really big honor, and I'm really excited to share my experience. A number of years ago, so I am Christian. My dad's a Methodist minister. And so I've grown up in the church my whole life. And a number of years ago, I, from complete coincidence, met a Muslim person who opened my eyes to the fact that there was more than one faith and that those faiths were just as deep and wide as my own. And so I was blown away and really wanted to learn more. And so the following year, she offered or asked if I wanted to participate in Ramadan, and I said yes. And told my family, hey, I'm going to be fasting for this month. And they said, are you going to be okay? And I said, well, if 1.8 billion people worldwide can do it, I think I'll be all right. It had a phenomenal experience. I started out keeping a blog where I just wrote about my thoughts and my faith each day. And somehow that got around to Ayub, and Ayub reached out to me, then a total stranger, and said, hi, we're doing these pre-dawn fast-breaking meals at 2 a.m. if you would like to join us. And I said, I would love to. And so at 2 a.m., I drove down and knocked on a complete stranger's door in the middle of the night and had a phenomenal experience. And since then, I've done over a dozen of those pre-dawn breakfasts and broken bread with people who have changed my life and have changed my way of seeing, and was blown away by the experience of just being welcomed and joining in a witness together. I don't know how to fully explain my experience other than saying I found grace and peace in every way that I turned. And throughout that experience, I asked a ton of questions and learned a lot about the Muslim faith, learned about what to each person makes Ramadan holy, and how to keep it that way year after year. And in my experience, I think that having partaken in it has made me personally a better Christian, and even more so a better person, for being able to put myself in the feet of those less fortunate, and to walk the path with people who follow a different faith than myself. It has been an absolute honor and a highlight of my young life, and I'm excited to be here in this holy month again to I don't know, to just witness.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing us to witness a little bit of your journey, and whether you know it or not, to invite anyone who's not a Muslim to participate in Ramadan. That there's so much more than someone could imagine beyond the not eating and drinking. You know, yeah. So thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Our keynote speaker tonight is Dr. Zeki Saritaprak, and he's done a keynote for us a few times. He is the chair in Islamic Studies at John Carroll University, and he is going to take 10 minutes or so and talk to us about Ramadan. There he is. Talk to us mostly about Ramadan, and if people have questions, to please put them into the Zoom, into the chat stream, and when he's done, then if there's questions there, Zeki, I will ask you. We'll do. You know how it goes. We've done this a few times.
I have learned. Yes.
Yes. So I'm going to just give it to you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Reverend Kelly. So I will try to be brief, and then I leave time for questions. And I am aware of the fact that 8:15 with your time is the 8:18 actually is the time of call for prayer. So we will manage this time. As you said, my name is Zeki Saritaprak. I am professor of Islamic Studies at John Carroll University. I just sent a message to Bennett that I wrote something on Islam and ecology, and I don't know if Scientology Church has something to do with ecology. I was wondering. So the topic of today is actually Ramadan, the wisdom in Ramadan, and I just wanted to take from the point that Bennett said, and then actually Kelly, you mentioned, and also Daniel mentioned, and that is prayer. Now, Ramadan is the month of prayer in Islam, and so powerful. Prayer is so powerful in the Islamic teaching. There is a verse in the Quran. It says, if it is not for your prayer, what is your importance? So actually you have no importance if you have no prayer. That's what the Quran says. Your importance comes from your prayer. And the month of Ramadan is a very important time for prayer. That's why sometimes we call it the month of prayer. Prayer in Islam has many dimensions. Not only, having daily prayers 5 times a day. The prayer is something that you open your hands to God, you open your hearts to God, and you ask something from God. That's prayer. There is another type of prayer that is action. It's also a prayer. For example, if you want something to happen and you work for it, that's considered prayer, because that is the way it happens. If you just ask God to send you bread from sky, God will never send a bread from sky for you. You have to work in order to find a bread, or whatever the values, you'll follow those values, because we live in the realm of cause and effect. Although in the Islamic teaching, God is the cause of causes, but you have to pray to God. You have to take care of the causes and then have to pray to God for the result. So this is one point that I like to make. The second point is that when we talked about unity, like the Interfaith program that you have in Kansas City, that also reminded me of the Ramadan. Ramadan actually has an interfaith dimension. Now, the verse that I wanted to share with you is in the Holy Quran, and it is this one. I will read the Arabic one for you. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyamu kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. O people who believe, fast has been prescribed upon you as it has been prescribed upon the people before you. Who were the people before Islam? Well, mainly Christians and Jews. So fast is actually part of Islamic understanding, but also has connection to the previous traditions. Like in the Judaic tradition, we have Yom Kippur. In the Christian tradition, we have Lent. Similar to that, there is fasting in Islam. And this is the required one. This is something that you have to. So the month of Ramadan, there is sometimes a misconception that Muslims are fasting for the entire month. That's impossible. You cannot remain hungry for the entire month. Basically, fasting daily is from dawn to sunset. So after that, you are allowed to break your fast and eat after that until the next morning. So before the next morning, you have like a heavy breakfast, heavy or actually not heavy, ideally not heavy, but it's a little bit more than normal breakfast because you'll not eat and drink until evening. And then you stop eating and drinking until sunset. So that's the way how it goes. And therefore, fasting has a direct connection with earlier traditions because the Quran says, as it was prescribed upon the people before you, Christians and Jews, it is prescribed upon you, O Muslims, as well. So there are many beautiful aspects of fasting. One aspect that I mentioned is prayer, is the time of prayer. You have constant prayer. And the second aspect that I like to elaborate on, it is also the month of the Quran. Because according to the Islamic teaching, Ramadan has a very significant historical background. What is that? According to the Islamic teaching, the Holy Quran was revealed to the Prophet of Islam in the month of Ramadan. So there are, many stories about this, but the Prophet Muhammad, when first he encountered Angel Gabriel, it was in the month of Ramadan. And therefore, I have my grandson behind me, so he's playing something. So please forgive us for noises if there are some noises. So basically, it's called the month of the Quran. So you recite the Quran. You recite together, you recite individually the month of the Quran, in the month of the Quran. And that's why verses of the Quran are rewarded when you recite them. Sometimes some hadith, some statements of the Prophet, sayings of the Prophet called hadith in the Islamic teaching, indicates that one hadith, as far as I remember, it says in the month of Ramadan, rewards are doubled, multiplied to the extension of 30,000. One action becomes 30,000 multiplied reward. So you read one verse of the Quran as if you read many verses of the Quran. You'll be rewarded for that. And again, there is one specific night that's called the night of power in Ramadan. It is secret. It is hidden. But if you catch that, you have caught a lot. Because it is like the most important aspect of Ramadan, actually, if you can find it and catch it. It is called the night of power. It is one night. It is hidden in Ramadan. The Prophet says, seek for it in the last 10 days of Ramadan. And even among the last 10 days, seek for the odd days of the last 10 days. So when you find it, according to the Quranic verse, that night is comparable to 1,000 months. 1,000 months. a rough calculation, 1,000 months makes about 80 years. So if you are able to catch that night when you are expected as a Muslim, you are expected to catch that night, to look for that night, and to make all efforts to have that night. That's why some Muslims are having like retreat at the last 10 days in a mosque, in a place, so that they might be able to catch that night. And there is no like a very physical explanation of it. It's a very spiritual aspect of Ramadan. What you do every night after the 20th of Ramadan, you stay worshiping God, praying God, asking God for beautiful things, praying for humanity, praying for your neighbors, praying for your nation, praying for your people, for your country. All these are part of this tradition. Imagine. And therefore, if you catch that night, as if you have lived 80 years in prayer. So it is so reward worthy. And that's why when we speak of Ramadan, we this is really very very well known by Muslims. But today I like to focus on this because this night of power is the name of a chapter in the Quran. It is so significant. It's called Surah Al-Qadr because the Quran, God says in this chapter, surely we have revealed this Quran in the night of power. Now, Qadr, in my book, Islamic Spirituality, I translated the word Laylatul Qadr into the night of honor. The common translation is the night of power, but I prefer to call it the night of honor because the Arabic word Qadr can be really understood as honor also, because we have something like about honorable people, those who have like a good qadr, good honor in the sight of people or in the sight of God. So that night is called the night of power, or as I translated, the night of honor. And the Quran says, God says, we have revealed this holy Quran in that night of honor. And one of the secret of it, it is honored because the Quran was revealed in that night. And because the Quran is the holy book of Islam, and every verse of it is considered a word of God. And therefore it becomes very significant for Muslims. And Ramadan, including this night. So this is one aspect that I like to elaborate. And I think the second aspect that I would like to say is Ramadan teaches something, that to think of others, to think of other people. For example, you have a neighbor. If he's hungry, the Prophet says, you are not of my community if neighbor is hungry and your stomach is full. You have to go and take care of your neighbor, because that is the closest person in the proximity of your location. The Prophet of Islam says, Angel Gabriel came to me. He recommended me to take care of my neighbor, so much so that I thought a neighbor will become the heir of a neighbor. When they die, they have heirs, they have inheritors. I thought that a neighbor will be an inheritor of a neighbor, because he so much emphasized that I have to take care of my neighbor. I have to take care of my neighbor. I have to take care of my neighbor. Today, in our modern world, in America, unfortunately, this ideal is not very much practiced. We wave our neighbors, but just wave. That's it. It's not enough. If you have to know if your neighbor is hungry or not hungry. Well, you have to know if your neighbor is sick, and you have to take care of your neighbor. And that this way, when you have this sense of community, you will have a harmonious society. One of the goals of Ramadan, to create a harmonious society. And how this can happen? when you think of others, financially, if they are in difficult situation, you think how you can help them. Health-wise, if they are in difficult situation, you think how you can help them. So beautifully, the Prophet of Islam says, and I'm looking at my cellular phone about my time. I know I have to stop now, but I will finish with this one. Please allow me to finish with this one. The Prophet of Islam, peace and blessings upon him, Prophet Muhammad says to his wife, add some water to our soup so that we can share with our neighbors. You know, eventually you will drink your soup, whatever you have. But he says, make it a little bit big, larger, a little bit larger amount. So add some water to it so that we can share better with our neighbors. That means, if it's not very quality one, by adding some water, but still add it to it so that you can share it. Yes, you'll have a less, but spiritually, you will have more. Thank you very much. So I am stopping here. And if there are questions, I will be pleased to answer your questions. And I know we have about 3 minutes left.
We do. We just have a couple minutes. You know what? I heard, and I honestly, it may have been you, maybe it was someone else, but referred to prayers as, happened to mention, maybe it was last night, I'm not sure, but thriving prayers. That thriving prayers, how did they say it? They were that that prayers that that makes your eyes overflow with tears.
Yes.
Yeah, and I just love the idea of that, and not like, it wasn't like grief, over necessarily overflowing with tears, but just how meaningful and overwhelming something is.
There is a verse actually about flowing tears, like eyes with tears. And very interesting. It's very interesting. That verse is about Christians. It says, when they heard the revelation of God, out of their desire for truth, their eyes become full of tears. And they said, Lord, write us among the witnesses of the truth.
Okay.
And this is an occasion of when Prophet Muhammad sent some of his followers to Abyssinia. And the king, the Christian king of Abyssinia, modern day Ethiopia, took care of his followers and respected them. And he said, I will not return these people to Meccan idol worshippers, even for a mountain of gold. And Prophet Muhammad's cousin, Jafar, recited some verse of the Quran for him. And he so much loved it. And he and his people, his patriarchs, become, their eyes, the Quran says, become full of tears out of their recognition of the truth.
I love that. We do have to go to the call to the prayer, but there is a question online, but I'm going to come back after the prayer and break the fast and we meet the family. We'll come back, and I want to ask the question that's in the chat stream. But thank you very much, and we will see you in a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
And so it's now time for the call to the prayer. And Mehmet Ali Karademir, who is the director of the Rainbow Foundation, will do the call to prayer. It will be in Arabic, but I will have a slide up that is in English, so that we can, if we don't speak Arabic, we can follow.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
And so our fast is broken. And if you have some food or something to drink at your desk, at your table, I invite you to partake of that now. And this is a quote from the Hadith, and the Hadith is a collection of sayings and actions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And he said, whatever is prayed for at the time of the breaking of the fast, it is granted and never refused. So in that spirit, I offer this prayer for world peace. It comes from Rabbi Harold Kushner. Let the rain come and wash away the ancient grudges, the bitter hatreds held and nurtured over generations. Let the rain wash away the memory of the hurt, the neglect. Then let the sun come out and fill the sky with rainbows. Let the warmth of the sun heal us wherever we are broken. Let it burn away the fog so that we can see each other clearly, so that we can see beyond labels, beyond accents, gender, or skin color. Let the warmth and brightness of the sun melt our selfishness, so that we can share the joys and feel the sorrows of our neighbors. And let the light of the sun be so strong that we will see all people as our neighbors. Let the earth, nourished by rain, bring forth flowers to surround us with beauty. And let the mountains teach our hearts to reach upward to heaven. Amen. I misspoke. It's Mehmet Karademir, who is the director of the Raindrop Foundation. My apologies. We're going to now visit our host family, the Tumpak family that is in San Antonio. And they are going to show us their home and invite us into their, see what they have prepared to eat and tell us a little bit about their family. I'm waiting for them to bring up their camera and turn on their microphone. But you'll get to meet the family. They'll let us know how they celebrate. There they are, to celebrate how they celebrate Ramadan. And so I'm going to just turn it over to you. Thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Hi. Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
Hi, Daniel. Hi, Dr. Sarı Toprak. I hope you're all doing fine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
I am Hamdi Şantunbak from San Antonio, and I'm with my family. It is iftar time, breaking the fast time, as you know. So I want to start showing my family. Okay. Again, I am Hamdi Şantunbak, and here's my wife, Nermin. 1 second. And thank you for joining us today for the iftar program.
Hello, my name is Nermin. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for iftar hour. Come here. Thank you.
And my son, Sami. Hello. And my daughter,
Hello,
Iqbal.
my name is Iqbal Tumbak. Thank you. Welcome to come.
Okay. And I can also show you, we have some decoration Iqbal made for Ramadan. I don't know if you can see it.
So what are you having for dinner tonight?
Okay, let me show you. Tonight we have second. Okay, so at iftar time, breaking the fast time, we always start with dates or salt or water. It's traditional. And typically, dinner starts with soup. Today we have lentil soup. I don't know if you are familiar with lentil soup. I believe you are.
Mm-hmm.
And we have grape leaf rolls and salad. We are 4 people here today. And we have stuffed eggplants, which is also in Turkish karnıyarık. I don't know if you ever tasted this. It is eggplant and ground beef. It has some onion and tomato and pepperoni. And we also stuffed meatballs. It is actually coated with bulgur and rice and pida, which is a special for Ramadan. I told you we are 4 people, but we have 5 plates, and this is for you. I hope someday you will in person come here and join us with dinner. In Ramadan time, normally it's time of being together, having breakfast or together.
Is there a favorite part of Ramadan? Favorite during the month? Is there anything in particular that's a favorite part or really special for you or your family?
Okay, to me, the favorite part of Ramadan is sahur time, which is the early breakfast, which we have before the sunrise. And that's my favorite time. Let me ask my son, if you like, okay, what is his favorite time of Ramadan? Sami, can you tell us, when is your favorite time of Ramadan?
My favorite time of Ramadan is during the dinner time, iftar, where we get to break our fast and be together as a family and with our neighbors and friends.
Yes, okay. And Iqbal, you want to tell me when is your favorite time in Ramadan?
My favorite time is that that our friends come our visit home and eat food together.
Yes, okay. That is time. And yes, so it is sometimes a sahur time, sometimes iftar time, and especially when we have friends, it's the favorite time for Ramadan.
Well, thank you very much. We don't want to keep you from your meal since
Okay.
you've been fasting all day.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much.
Yes, it was a privilege to be welcomed into your home. So thank you.
Thank you. It's a privilege for us, actually. Thank you so much.
Dr. Sarita Prak, I wanted to, if you want to leave your camera on, you're welcome to do that, or if you want to turn it off. I have a question from our chat stream for Zeki. So the question is, you were talking about the night of power, and the person online was wondering how, and you may have addressed this, but I was intrigued also about that idea of the night of power, I think, or you said the night of honor. But how does that get identified? Is it the question is, does the imam decide it, or is it each Muslim to identify it for themselves?
Yeah, it is basically, it is like a divine plan to keep it secret so that you honor all nights of Ramadan. So you may catch it. There is no, like a specific night.
Okay.
It is not determined. God intentionally makes it secret. And that's why some Islamic scholars would say, this is like the greatest name of God. Which one is the greatest name of God? The greatest name of God is secret. Through your reading, through your supplication, you might have a name of God, that greatest name of God. Similar to that, this night of honor is secret. So you do it in certain nights because just for the purpose of I think convenience, many Muslims are considering the night of honor as the 27th night of Ramadan. So they stay awake until morning, they pray. Even if it is not that night per se, all these people are having that prayer, on the same night. It's very beneficial. It's very good. But there is no guarantee that it is that night. And even you catch it, you don't know if you catch it or not. In the afterlife, you'll know it.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, how would you know then? And then you just said in the afterlife. So yeah. I have to wait? You're going to make me wait till the afterlife to find out?
Yes.
Oh.
That's it. Because in Islamic teaching, this world is the place of service. You don't get reward. Reward is in the afterlife.
Okay.
Yeah.
Reward, I got it.
Basically, yeah. You stay awake, and that reward will come in the afterlife.
But first, I have to be busy and take care of life here.
Yes, actually.
Take care of all life, be in service, and yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
So I'm going to invite everybody, all of our guests back, and turn the camera and the microphone over to Ayub because I know he's got more to share. You can see him all excited.
Yes, I am.
Woo! I think he's got a poem or a song, or maybe he'll tap dance. Who knows?
What do you want? Do you want a rap song, or Daniel might join me, or a
No,
poem?
don't sing.
Okay, yeah, I have a bad voice. Don't tell anyone. Okay, I'm very happy for everyone who joined us, today from the Interfaith Council, from the Unity. Today, what am I gonna do is I'm gonna commiserate with you until I met and confess something. Until I met a Jewish person. Most of the things I heard about Jews were negative, and until I met a Catholic person, everything I heard about Catholics were negative. And it was same for Unity, same for LDS, same for whoever you might think. And how about Muslims? They were weird to everyone else, right? So I came up with this poem, Who is Not Weird? Okay? A little bit funny, a little bit meaningful, I guess, I hope. So I want everyone to join me to read this wherever you are. Please join me. Okay. Not the basketball, not basketball. Okay. Who is not weird? Not different, I am unique. Who is not weird in this world? African Americans were second class citizens. They were black. Killed Mormons on sight. They were foreign to us. Hindus are weird. They do not eat beef. Jews, oh no, 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 they do not work on Saturdays. Muslims, oh no, 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 they have weird beard. Do not let them in here, the new blacks of this world. A Muslim woman is weird because of her veiling. She kindly says, oh people, my body is covered, but my mind is open. A Jewish lady is walking with a Muslim woman, arm to arm, driving hatred in the streets, planting the seeds of kindness. A white man and a black man running in the streets in Mississippi together. An Armenian woman is inviting a Turkish guy for coffee to her house of friendship, as back in the old days. A Bosnian mother is inviting a Serbian mom to the house of peace. All weird people are crying. We are hungry. We are thirsty. Hungry for peace, thirsty for acceptance. Maybe it is a privilege to be weird, that I am the weirdest man on earth. When I met with people from different ethnic backgrounds, different faith backgrounds, I also heard about this, like who is superior, the superiority, the fight over being superior. And it never made sense to me. Say I was born and grew up in Turkey, and people in the US were born here. So how can I claim that I am superior to a person who was born into a different family in a different country? So I think one of the good responses to this fight, maybe the debate, is a quote from the final sermon of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Let's read also together. All mankind is from Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, nor does a non-Arab have any superiority over an Arab. A white has no superiority over a black, nor does a black have any superiority over a white. None have any superiority over another except by piety and good actions. And we are here together to create peace in our world. So we don't ask. We say we are firefighters. We are not asking who started the fire. If there are times you might lose your hope, just think about these kids. A picture from our Interfaith event multiple years ago. Black kids and white kids are playing together. And finally, to appreciate your presence here and to realize your potential, one more last thing. Your first step to join this event is more important than Neil Armstrong's first step to the moon, as you made your first step to create peace in this world. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for listening to me.
Thank you, Ayub, and thank you to Thank you, Dr. Sarita Proc. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Banette. Thank you, the Tunpak family in San Antonio. And have a wonderful evening and Ramadan Mubarak. Wait, we can't hear you.
And thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Ayub. Thank you all. It was a really enjoyable event. Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
will stay in touch, you know?
Yes.
Via conversations. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Oh,
What?
one more thing. Kelly, come. Okay, please. Kelly, here is my wife. Some people ask about my wife. I forgot to invite her. Sorry. But this is an Interfaith Ramadan event with Unity and Interfaith Council. So we want to extend special thanks to our MC, Kelly, who also emceed my wedding, our wedding.
Oh, that's right. Hi, Mary. It's good to see you.
And
Okay.
Zeynep is our relative now for 4 months. My relative, I would say.
Our relative now, yes.
Everyone have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Wonderful evening, everyone. See you on May 12th, next week. Next week we start at 7:45 because of the sunrise, sunset time change. See you next week. Take care.
Take care.